So today's class, we're going to talk about the 33 touch. It's called the Referral Bootcamp. And then it actually ties into the class we're going to have next week, which goes into farming. So talking about creating a farm area, which is something that you guys, you might think about doing at some point in your careers. And so, and Heather, that's something I probably should talk to Rose about too, right? Is setting up a farm, although she's been doing really well. And so Heather just joined us. She's actually in the East Valley. So she's joined up with Rose. She's Rose's, you guys are cousins, right? Yeah, I think you are. That's cousins.
She's my aunt.
Oh, aunt. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's right. Niece. Okay. So yes, so she's going to be Rose's newest buyer's agent. So we're excited to have her. So, and Brian, I don't recognize your name. So if you want to pop your email address in the chat, I will send you over the materials for the class. And then Janae is actually new as well. So she joined us working with Roberta's team, which is kind of a funny story. Is Janae used to work for a guy in the Olympia area, and I actually coach him. So kind of funny what a small world we have. So we're excited to have her here as well. So let me do a share screen and we'll jump into the materials. So this is probably one of my favorite classes to teach, just because staying in touch with our people, right? And staying in flow with our databases. And we talk a lot about the top 50 concept. I'm sure all of you, maybe with exception to Brian, have heard me talk about the top 50 concept. And so when we say a 33 touch, a lot of times people go, ooh, that seems like a lot. So I'm going to walk you through how it's really not a lot, and how it's designed to keep you top of mind, right? To stay in touch with people. And, I have some other examples in here too that I will share with you guys of other marketing things. So, I've spent a lot of time on Nate's team, helping develop marketing ideas and things that would get us top of mind and stay in touch with people. So as I said, this is going to parlay into the farming class. So there's a little bit, we'll touch on that at the end of today. And then next week, we'll dive into exactly what does a farm look like? What should you be doing for your farm? All of that good stuff. So, all right, let's see. We got another person jumping in, Roberta. Okay. Let me just make a note of that, Roberta. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, so you guys can, I will send the materials to those of you who dropped in, but for those of you who have them, you can open them up if you want to and follow along. The screen pretty much just follows along with the class materials as well. What just happened here? Can I get to the right place? Yes, okay. Move you guys over there. All right. So the purpose today that we want to do is again, thinking about referrals. And so how do we stay top of mind with people, and what's the approach to make sure that, people know that we're in the business of referrals, right? And so being really mindful, years ago, one of my good friends, I asked her, I was like, how come you never refer me any business? And she made the comment to me, well, you're always, all you ever do is just complain about your business and complain about your crazy clients. And so she was like kind of saying to me, like, I care about you, so why would I give you more of that to make you more stressed out, right? And so I had to really kind of check myself and thinking about, okay, how do I communicate, right, to the people that I'm close to about my business, right? And still making sure that they know that I need their business, right? I need their referrals, I need their support. And no one wants to be sold. And so what I really want you guys to take away from this class is coming from a place of service, right? If we lead with our hearts, then people won't think that there won't be any commission breath, as my friend Julie says. And so we want to really think about that we don't want to be sold. So we just want to come from a place of service. And so the goal here today is to teach you a proactive approach. And again, proactive means to produce action, to effectively staying in flow with the people who know you and like you. Okay. And so then we want you to elevate your confidence, right? So many of you on here are new. So we want to elevate your confidence that you would be able to go have those conversations, right, with your friends and family and anybody that's in your top 50 or your sphere. So the materials call it network. You're going to hear me say network and sphere, same thing, right? It's anybody that would be considered in that top 50, someone you would invite to a backyard barbecue, a wedding, a birthday party, etc. Right? And so then the goal here is that we want to develop those relationships, not only to create current business, but future business. And there's a lot of different statistics out there that say, what the value of a client is. And I think it's like 80% of statistics are made up on the spot. But the one that always sticks with me is that the average client is worth about $65,000 in the lifetime, Sandra, of your business. And so when we think about it, it's not just that one transaction, right? It's the future business that they're going to do. We're having our Month of Miracles event in August. And well, I guess we're in August in 10 days, actually. So I reached out to one of my past clients that they're big CMN or PCH, both their boys have been treated there. And he's actually a music producer. And so he's making a record that's going to feature it's going to be sold to the children's hospital. Anyway, going down a rabbit hole, I invited them to come as my guests because I know how passionate they are about the hospital. And I started doing the math in my head of how many transactions I've done with this family. And she's actually a high school mate, but I did the math, and over the years that they've been homeowners, it's been 7 transactions. And I'm getting ready to list her father's 2 properties. So it'll end up being 9 transactions before the year is out. And so, thinking about that, she's one of my top 50, right? She's a diehard client. And so I want to be able to, have those conversations with her and maintain that relationship. So when we think about, right, the future business. So we're going to talk about sellers and buyers, and then what do we need to have? So we're going to talk about just some tools, right? Your signs, your ads, using the internet, and then what are some just listed postcards? And of course, client care, right? Our CRMs. I know that a lot of us jumped into Booge. I know Booge is getting ready to sunset, so we just got to have some patience with that and figure out what this next step looks like with KV Core. I have clients that I coach that use KV Core, and they all rave about it. So I'm optimistic that hopefully this is going to be a product we can all get on board with and love. All right, so the no, do, have. So what does a 33 touch look like? And so, like I said at the beginning of class, I told you I was going to walk you through that. And so dive into it. So we have a prospect, right? That's someone that is a prospect, right? Someone who's we call them suspect, right? They're looking like they're going to either buy or sell. And then of course, developing our sphere, our network. And then what is the 33 touch? We also need to have a permission dialogue. And so we need to have that conversation with them, to say, hey, Jan, is it okay that I love on you, right? That I send you stuff that's important to you, right? I want to celebrate your birthdays. I want to celebrate your milestones. And so is that okay with you? So we're going to give you a dialogue on that. And then the have, right? So we need to have the list and putting them into our CRM and labeling them, right? When you put them in your CRM, and I'm hopeful that what we put in Booge will be able to be integrated into KV Core without a lot of effort. And so making sure you tag people in there so that they're tagged properly if they're a past client, if they're a top 50. For those of you who are new, right, we need to make sure that we go in and we ask permission, and don't just assume that they wouldn't do business with you because you're new. The people who are in our orbit, they care about us, right? And they want to see us be successful. And so don't make that assumption until you ask. And there are some people you choose, right? I have family members that during periods of our lives, I have opted to not help them with their real estate needs because I valued the relationship more than the commission. And I still referred them to someone who would take really good care of them. But because of things that were happening in our lives, I didn't think it was a good idea for us to work together. And so you have people like that, right, in your life. So it's okay to say, hey, still want to take care of you, Ann, going to get you hooked up with someone else, but we're just not a good fit to work together. Okay. So we want to have our list. I'm going to go through the 16 value added. 16 value added mailers. So this could be a newsletter, right? Newsletters are a great way to stay in contact with people. You guys yesterday got the company newsletter, right? So we've been doing that for years, probably since we opened or shortly after. And so having that content, we used to actually mail it out to you guys, but then we just found that email was just as effective to get that content out to you guys. Nate's been doing a similar newsletter like that for many years. And so we find that that's just a really good base as a good touch to have. Orlando's actually the one that designs both of those. And I think he designs a couple others. So if you guys are interested in doing a monthly newsletter like the one that you see from the company, reach out to Orlando and have a conversation with him. Birthday cards. So birthday cards I would say for anyone in the household. If they have children, if they're like me and my pets are my children, could you squeeze the orange there, right? And know that Diego's birthday is June 27th and Daisy Mays is coming up at the end of the month, right? If you knew that about me and you took the time and the effort to send me a dog birthday card, would you wow me for life? Probably, right? Probably. And so even squeezing the orange further, I had a client that her little dog passed away earlier this year. And backstory to that is that she had posted a comment on one of the pictures I had of Daisy and said, where do you find your cute little clothes? I can't find any small enough for my dog. So my boyfriend, this is being recorded, but don't rat him out. He's the one that actually finds the clothes for my little dog. so don't rat him out because he's very masculine and he would deny that. But so anyway, he's the one that finds the clothes for her. So I tasked him. I said, go out and find me the smallest dog clothes that you can find. So he came home with a couple selections and we sent them to her. And she was just so over the moon that I did that. And then when he passed away, I actually she put a picture of him. There was a really cute picture. So I took it and I printed it out through my account and send out cards and sent it to her as a condolence. And of course, she tagged me both times, right? Pictures of him with the clothes on and then with the card. And so that gets tagged and people see that that's something that I do for her as my client. And so, thinking about those ways we can squeeze the arm. Sad that the dog died, right? But there were two really powerful interactions I had with her, and I wouldn't have had those if it hadn't been for social media, right? And so I took that extra time, one, to send the clothes, and then two, to send the card. And here's the thing, she will hang on to that card forever, right? And every time she looks at it, not only is she going to think of her dog, but she's going to think of me and the fact that I sent it to her. So think about ways, and I do this with birthday cards too. If I'm friends with them on social media, I will go find a card and make it customized versus just a generic happy birthday. Now, if you don't have the budget to send out cards, which send out cards, I think I pay like $2.50 a card. And then I have like a monthly subscription that I do. So they are pretty affordable. But if you don't want to spend the money, make a phone call. Right. One of my past clients, she had 6 children and I called her on her birthday. I was the first person to call her and I made her cry. So the power of a birthday call is really, it's impactful. So if you don't have the budget, make the phone call instead, right? Or send a video text. Those are nice ways to touch people as well, as to have your face and send a nice video text. There are other tools. You could get a BombBomb account if you wanted, which is a RE/MAX approved supplier, which is all video integration. But again, don't go spend money on something that you're not going to use. Okay. Holiday cards. I don't care what holiday you pick, but holiday cards are great touch, but that can't be your only touch, right? I hear people say, well, I send a holiday card. I get no business from my database. It's not enough. There are 90,000 people in the state of Arizona that have licenses. Everyone knows somebody else who's a realtor. And so you have to make sure that you're the yes, right? So I'm gonna go off track here just to tell a really important story. So I bought the house I'm in right now. We closed in March and it was for sale by owner. And it turned out that the for sale by owner knew 5 people who were realtors. Okay. And I'm in Prescott. This is a pretty small community, right? Well, outside of Prescott, but so 5 realtors, 2 of which were their best friends, her husband's best friend and her best friends. And I asked her, I said, well, how come you didn't list your house with any of those 5 people that you know? And she said, well, we really couldn't choose and we didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. And so I would love to sell it on my own so I don't have to make that decision and have that conversation with someone. Now, she made about $200,000 on the sale of this house and she had no idea what she was doing. We had to walk her through everything. She didn't have the forms. This house was built in 1978, so we needed a lead-based paint, right? She didn't have any of that. So she staked out to risk, lead-based paint, that in itself is a scary document, right? That has to be done. That's not just a state thing. That's a federal thing, right? It's a big deal, the lead-based paint, and every line that you miss is worth a huge fine. So she staked out to not only not have representation selling an older home, but also risking her $200,000 in equity because she didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. And so I love this story because one, I lucked out finding a for sale by owner, which was awesome. But 2, we need to make sure that we're the hell yes, right? The choice in that. If you know 5 people, to make sure, Sandra, that there's no way that you would risk any of that equity or any of just the transaction without representation, right? And the only way to do that is all these things we're talking about here is to stay top of mind with people, right? And to make sure that you're the hell yes, right? That doesn't matter about anyone else's feelings because you're the best choice in that transaction to represent them, right? So kind of a crazy story when she told me that. And of course, we quickly wrapped up the contract and got it done before anybody else got involved. So, and she was willing to pay commission too, which is another side of that story. So, so going back to the holiday cards, I don't care what holiday it is, maybe you pick something, last year I sent out cards for Patriots Day. Right. So I picked that holiday and of course, other things that I've done too, but that was a nice touch because, it was the 20-year anniversary of 9/11. So I sent out a nice, Patriots card. So pick a holiday. And then I love this idea of Mother's Day and Father's Day cards. I think you could also take it a step further and do step parent day. I'm a step parent, and every Mother's Day I'm like, hey, I get gypped because, well, you're not really a mom, but I'm a stepmom, right? Which is still a very challenging job. And so I also think you could take it as Grandparents Day as well, because there's a lot of grandparents raising their grandkids out there. And so taking the time to recognize them and adding just another touch in there. So, and again, those are things that we want to have an intimate relationship with our top 50. We want to know what's going on in their lives, right? We want to know what's happening with their children. We want to know what's happening with their families. And so, staying in touch with that and then putting that stuff in your database. That's where your database becomes your brain, right? That keeps all that stuff documented so you don't have to always remember it, right? And again, you guys, social media gives us an opportunity to learn things about people so quickly, right? You can go on, you can make a new friend and go look at all your mutuals. I love looking at mutuals because it's always fascinating to me of how our paths cross, right? And how do we all know each other? And so using that as an opportunity to reach out to people, because people are putting it out there, right? They're sharing stuff about their lives. And so that's an opportunity for us to, get to know them that much quicker, right? And squeeze the orange. If you see something happening in their life, take the opportunity, right? To go further with that. And then thank you cards. So throughout the year, right, if you're getting referrals from them, we want to definitely recognize that. I think a thank you card is just a minimum. If you get a referral, I think you need to do something bigger than that when you get referrals, especially depending on the quality of the referral or the price point, because we want to reward that behavior, right? And whatever it is, I mean, let's say that you wanted to, Jan, you wanted to send an edible arrangement to someone as a thank you. Well, don't send it to their house. Find out where they work and send it to their job, right? Because here's what will happen. Everybody in the cubicles around them will say, gee, where'd you get that? And they're going to say, well, my realtor sent it to me. And then they're going to say, well, gosh, my realtor's never done that. And so now it's going to open those conversations, right? So we want to think about, again, squeeze the orange, right? You can squeeze an orange, but you squeeze it a little bit more and get a little bit more juice, right? So we want to continue thinking like that. So thank you cards or thinking of you cards, right? You could send just, I've been thinking about you, right? I think that your top 50 needs to hear from you at least once a quarter, not just a touch, but an actual phone call, right? So, and if you miss them, the conversation, leave a message, right? But then follow up with a quick little video text. Sorry, I missed you, Heather. Hope everything's going well. I've been thinking about you, right? Everybody likes to say, you've been thinking about me, right? And then follow up with a handwritten note card, right? That says, sorry, I missed you. One of the scripts that we teach in Momentum is that the average person will know 5 people who will make a move in the next 12 months. And so what I've done in the past is write that in my card, and I would love to be top of mind. Here's a few of my business cards, right? So when you hear about those people making a move, and it's funny, I sent that out. I did that in a scratcher tickets for St. Patrick's Day. I bought some St. Patrick's cards and I sent out scratchers in that. And I wrote that script in there, and the very next week that I had sent that out, I got a referral, and it ended up being a $465,000 closing. And so right, Jan, good return on investment, right? It's been $50 on scratchers and $30 on cards, and then whatever postage is in that, right? So my return on investment was fantastic. And I don't know, had I not sent that out, I mean, we're friends on Facebook. She knows I'm a realtor. She wasn't in my top 50. I don't know. If I'm 50-50 if I would have got that referral if I hadn't sent that card out at that precise time. And so just think about those things that what we do, right, with those activities, and being in touch with them and staying top of mind, right? So we're going to go over a couple other ideas too as we go through this. So I gotta keep me on track with time. All right, so next page. So people, so again, 5 people, right, that you'll know that'll make a move this year. So people who are advocates, right? So they know you, they like you, they're evangelical about you, right? So, and what they would not do business with anyone but you, and they won't let anyone they know do business without you. And so these are your raving fans. And this is what I would qualify as a top 50, right? So someone who's running around shouting from the rooftops about you, and they wouldn't do a business without you. Okay. So we want to have at least 50 of those people, right, that are in our database. And then we have family, friends, acquaintances. So they know you, they hopefully like you, but given the opportunity, they do business with you, but they may also do business with someone else. Okay. So not always a guarantee. And I think a lot of us just assume that our family and friends will do business with us without actually, 1, asking permission, then 2, developing the relationship. When it's my family or friends, I double down. right? I double down. I don't show up in jeans and a t-shirt, right? I show up professionally. I just sold my sister-in-law a house. Every day I went out with her, I wore my name tag, had my dress on, right? I showed up because I could have easily, she wouldn't have cared if I'd showed up in jeans and a t-shirt, but that's not how I roll, right? I want her to feel like I'm treating her the same way I would treat any other client. In fact, better, right? Because I don't want just them to feel like it's an assumed transaction, right? And so I double down on that, right? I want to make sure that they feel like they're getting the wow treatment. Not that I don't treat everyone differently, but I do make sure that I don't take that for granted, right? Don't take that assumption for granted. And then past and present people. So these are people, of course, if you've been in the business, these are people that bought or sold with you before. For sale by owners, right? I bought a for sale by owner. Who would have thought, right? And then I think we're gonna talk in not next week's class, but I think it's the class after. I know it's in August. I put the expired class on the agenda because you guys, there's a lot of expireds in MLS right now. And those are great opportunities for you to go out and get business because those people still have a need to sell, right? So we're going to talk about that. I don't remember exactly what date, but if you got the newsletter yesterday, it's in there on what date that's coming up. And then anybody who has, you've had conversations with, right? Somebody comes through an open house, you meet somebody at a party, right? These are people that we might interact with that having a conversation about buying or selling. On page 5, the note at the bottom, the 33 touch program is not designed to create network members. It's designed to keep you in flow, or in other words, to keep you in contact, keep you top of mind, right? Stay fresh with the people that are in your database. So 16 touch. So this again is could be your monthly newsletter. So it needs to be professional, right? We don't want to send stuff out that one doesn't represent you and the message that you want to convey. I don't know if I've had this interaction with people where they hand me a business card and they don't like their picture, right? And they say that to you. Well, here's my card, but I don't like my picture. Well, if you don't like the picture on your card, change it, right? Because that's the vibe that you're putting out, right? I don't like this. And so it needs to be professional. It needs to be of value, right? What is it that your people want? What do they need to get from you? And so, we have a lot of different age groups here today and different backgrounds that you guys have come from. And so thinking about your people. So yesterday, Heather and I talked and I told her she needs to go join a mom's group. She's got a 4-year-old. So Anne went and joined a mom's group. And so thinking about the people that are in your database, what do they need to get from you? What is what's their lifestyle like? Some people work, the retired community. What do they need? Right. And so thinking about what it is that's of value to them, and it needs to be consistent. We need to be sending something out every single month. Right, every month. We're going to do business planning in October. We're going to dedicate the whole month to business planning. And one of the things that I stress to people I coach and that come through that class is to have a written plan, so that when you hit the ground running in January 2023, you have a plan, right? That says, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Now, I would encourage all of you when you get off this call is to take your calendar out and look and say, okay, we got the rest of the year, what can I do, right? What am I going to implement for the rest of the year so that I can stay top of mind, and then start working on your plan for next year. If you have a copy of my book, there's 2 chapters that have different marketing ideas, and then also client events. So there's a lot of different ideas in there as well. So not just the be all end all here. So examples, so recipe cards, right? Those are nice touches. I used to send out chicken soup for the soul stories to my database. And then anything that has to do with homeowner tips or articles, relevant things that are happening. I'm participating in a think tank for workmen. And yesterday we were talking about the fact that a lot of people are underinsured on their homeowner insurance, because property values have shot up so much, right? And most insurance companies, they want to, they try to keep the policies cheaper so they don't provide as much coverage. And so today, Jan, if your house burnt down, it costs a lot more to rebuild it than it probably did when you bought your insurance plan when you bought your house. So that's a good touch, right? Is to follow up with people and say, hey, you might be a good time to do a little insurance checkup on your house, right? To make sure you have enough coverage. So anything that's relevant like that. Inspirational stories, especially stories about people in your database, right? If they had something special that they're doing, they had a baby, they celebrated some milestone, things like that would be touching to people. The newsletter. So newsletters containing your successes, right? Homes that you sold that month, your sales price to list price, right? So, a lot of us, back in the day, Nate and I, we used to say, we do the math, right? Our listings sell for 102% more than list price, right? So figuring out what those numbers are. So bragging about that. Your average days from the time you get an offer to the time it closes, right? When I started working with Nate, what do we have? We had these bags that said the Nate Martinez team lists or sells a house every 23 hours. And so that was a valuable information to people to talk about our statistics, right? That was one of the reasons we were in the top 10 teams every year, right? Is that because we tracked those things and we provided that type of service. You could do a book of the month as well, which is also kind of fun, creating a book club, a recipe of the month, a quote of the month, some kind of a homeowner tip, right? Like, don't forget to change your AC filters, right? The easiest way to maintain your air conditioning, checking for termites, things like that, little tips that help them just maintain. I was telling my sister-in-law, my brother-in-law, when we were writing the software, I said, the easiest way to maintain a home is your maintenance, right? Is doing your maintenance, having your roof checked, having your AC checked, paint your fascia, do those things, because it's all that stuff that's just easy maintenance that if you keep up on it, then you don't have major issues, right? So again, inspirational stories, real estate articles, a client of the month. You could highlight a client, especially if they've been a rock star and sent you a lot of referrals. So we can highlight those clients. And then, we've moved to so when we were selling bank owns, right? Bank owns didn't care about us. We were just, there to process transactions. And so now, when we have a healthy market where we're dealing with real people, it's okay to share things about your family, right? And to share what's happening with you. Now, you got to be appropriate, right? You want to go off on a tangent about things that might offend people, but it's okay to share stuff like that. Danielle did a really beautiful post yesterday about the month of miracles and talked about her own special needs son, right? And in her newsletter, she would actually write a little bit about what was happening with her family. And, it makes you relatable, right? It makes them want to connect with you. And you never know what they might be going through. And by you sharing that, right, now we deepen that relationship and we create connection. We create more community, right? We create opportunities. And so don't be afraid to be a little bit transparent about what's happening with your family. I like to do during the holidays, I actually like to send out, I'm kind of still geeky to send out the letter, right? That we used to do a long time ago that recapped your whole year, right? But we stopped doing because of social media. And I get really good feedback when I send that out to people because they're like, oh my gosh, I really loved reading this recap of what happened in your family over the last year, right? And so don't be afraid to share a little bit about yourself. That deepens that connection. And so then the materials on page 7, it says that tier 1 agents, which would be new agents, shouldn't consider a monthly newsletter. I disagree with that. We have several people within our company and people that I coach that they started a newsletter right out the gates, and it's been a tremendous asset to their business. You just have to be mindful of your budget, right? And what's what can you afford to do, right? So I don't agree with that. I think that it is really an awesome tool. So continuing on with our touches. And so we have additional 2 touches, right? That could be birthday cards to spouses or add in children or pets, right? So that could increase the touches. Mother's Day, Father's Day cards, again, grandparent, set parent days, holiday card, thinking of you, or thank you cards. Phone calls, right? Once a quarter, there should be a phone call to people. And then again, if there's something that you've had in that conversation that's been memorable or important, take it a step further. Before I move off this, on page 8, there's another sample in here or idea is home anniversary purchases. So it's been 1 year, right? Reaching out to them on that date. I think you could even send them comps to let them know what the value of their home is. I had a client that I actually took a picture of them. They were standing outside kissing, holding the keys. And so on their 1 year anniversary, I created a send out cards with that picture and sent it out to them. And of course they tagged me on Facebook. They loved it, right? And again, they'll never throw that card away. And every time they look at it, who are they going to think of? They're going to think of me, right? So, so just thinking about those ways that we can deepen the relationship, right? And so one of my favorite quotes is that people don't care how much you know unless they know how much you care. And so really, that's what we need to do to be of service, to our databases. Before I get into the permission call, I've got a couple samples to show you. So this, I don't know if this still looks the same, but this is one of Orlando's pieces that he created for the Russo team. It's probably been updated since then, but I love just I love the concept of what they created here. And so the front page was always an article written by Frank about what was happening in the market. So this one happens to be 4 myths about real estate. Okay. And then they had the inside stuff, and everything has a strong call to action. So get a free evaluation, connect with us on Zillow, which Zillow's not doing what they were doing before. So, and in this case, they're giving away an Amazon card to try to clean up their database, right? And then they had the little monthly tip there. On the back page, they had their successes, right? Talking about their sales, and then advertising the listings that they currently had, and then all the ways that you could connect with them on social media. And so really good content here that gets read, and it's valuable to the people. And it really showcases what they do as a team, right? My next example, and this has changed as well, her design has changed, but the content is still the same. So Barb lives in Stetson Hills. And so again, same thing. We have a little blurb here that talks about the market and then the numbers. And so every month she would put the numbers in here of what was happening in the community. And she shared with me one time that she went to an appointment with a potential seller, and they had her newsletters stacked up and the statistics were highlighted. So they had been tracking that and they saw the value in that. She also had a situation where someone reached out to her and there was a typo. This Sudoku puzzle right here, there was an error in it. And so someone reached out to let her know that there was an error in it. And she was kind of upset, saying, well, how did that happen? And I said, well, hold on, you're missing the point here. That is a beautiful thing. Now, not that we want to have errors in everything, because we don't want to look like we don't know what we're doing, but an error indicates that we're human, right? And the fact that she took the time to reach out to you to tell you that there was an error in it, we need to celebrate that. Put her, she's getting your newsletter, she's reading it, she took the time. So I said, instead of being upset, take this lady a thank you. Take her a thank you and say, thank you for helping me have quality control on my marketing. And that's deepening the relationship, right? And this was someone that just getting her newsletter, never done business with her, right? And so I love that story. So don't be afraid to have those situations happen. And if it does happen and they bring it to your attention, make a big deal out of that, okay? So again, advertising her listings up here, little tips in here. The Sudoku puzzle was kind of something she did every single month. And then the inside pages, because this was Stetson Hills, she actually talked about the last 90 days of sales, and then a homeowner corner. She has done a shred event in her community for, this has been now 7 years, and it's wildly successful. I don't know that she did it. Did she do? Yeah, she did it last year. But there was one year that they had to actually call in a second truck because they got so much activity from the people in the neighborhood. So shred events they're easy to pull off and they're fairly inexpensive. And so, yeah, those are great touches to have in communities, especially, if you're going to farm. And then of course, up here, the call to action, right? To have you market analysis, a thank you for the referrals that she had coming in. And she did like the recipe of the month as well. A couple other examples. So this is a piece that Nate does through a company called REM, which is Real Marketing. They're based out of California. I need to update my examples because that's the old logo and an old picture of Nate. But they do, this is a very specific product that REM does. And this is definitely not one I would advise you to do until you get your business up and going. They're expensive. The pieces are like $1.89 a pop. So, and you do have to have some upfront setup fees. They are very effective, but they're, that's not something I would say that's for someone a little bit more advanced to get your business going. You want to start a farm, and we can add in the additional costs, but it is an option that's out there. This is a postcard, that's a sample postcard of the just listed that Nate will do on certain products. And another example here as well. So, and this, calling for the information here, this is a tool that we have called VoicePad, and you guys all have access to VoicePad. Nate pays for it as a company for us to have. And so you can create all kinds of different codes to put onto your listings. And I think this is relevant now because the market's shifting, market changing. And so if a house sits on the market for 30 days, we have an opportunity to use these tools to collect leads, right? You get those calls coming in on your listings, Jan, and we can create all kinds of stuff within VoicePad. And I won't go down a rabbit hole of VoicePad. If you want to have a conversation with me offline, I'm happy to share with you. We used a tool years ago before VoicePad that was similar, right? Similar tool. And I was doing an open house on a listing that we had. And I went through the list of people who had called to inquire about that listing. And I got a hold of this couple, and they came to the open house, met them, made a connection. I ended up selling their house in Peoria They bought in Glendale, and then we sold that house. They bought in the same subdivision, a bigger house. And then I sold that house and then referred them to somebody back in New Hampshire when they relocated. And so all from one sign call that I followed up on, and they came to that, right? So pretty powerful stuff to have those conversations. So VoicePad, I love them. They're an amazing company. They have amazing customer service. And then there's so many cool things that you can do with that software. And Rose, if anyone's ever shadowed Rose in an open house, she uses this tool as well. And she calls it the realtor in your pocket. And so having access, and the cool thing about VoicePad is it is real time, right? You're getting real recorded information on properties that are in the MLS. Okay. So talk to me about that if you're interested in leveraging some more marketing on your listings. This is a sample of Nate's send out cards that they do for birthdays that they send out. And then Christine was doing cookies from home. And I'm assuming they're still doing this, but anytime they have a closing, they send out the cookies from home. Now, the cookies from home are great. The only challenge I have with it is once the cookies are gone, there's no more shelf life. Right. There's no, unless someone keeps the 10, which people do tend to do that. They keep 10s for reasons, and then we don't know why, but we have them because you can't get rid of them. And so they do keep that. But just, when we think about our marketing pieces, we want to think about the Twinkie. And so a Twinkie has no shelf life, right? So it never expires. Or I'm sorry, it has, I didn't say that, no shelf. I didn't mean that. The other way, it has shelf life. It never expires, right? And so that's kind of disgusting to think about, but it is a food that will last, right? And so we want to think about how long is this piece going to be around? And then what's the call to action? What do I want them to do as a result of receiving this, right? And so, yeah, it's kind of gross to think about the Twinkie, but so we're not going to role play, but on page 9. So here's the permission script, right? So, hi, this is Sarah with Remax Professionals. How's the family? Right? How's your job? And then dialogue with them, right? So what am I doing right there? Forward, family, occupation. The reason I'm calling is because I attended a seminar the other day and I learned that every person I know will know 5 people this year who will want to buy or sell real estate. That got me thinking, why don't I put together a list of people I know who wouldn't mind helping me grow my business? And your name is one of the first that came to mind. I don't like the word offended, but the script says, would you be offended? I would say something like, would you be okay if I put you on that list? And then if they say what's involved, that's all that is required is that you let me know when you hear of someone wanting to buy or sell a home and that you refer my name to people asking if you know of a good realtor. Of course, they're going to say, yes, great. I also want to stay in contact with you through the mail and maybe even give you a phone call now and then. Are you okay with that? And then follow up, get their birthday, their anniversaries. And then I really appreciate you agreeing to this. This means a lot to me. And so that's the script, right? You could kind of massage that in however you want to say it. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure we get permission to be marketing to them. And that's we put them in our database. We get the information. All right, so first thing here, so page 10, so setting it all up. So we got to create the list of names, right? And I know some of you will say, well, I know more than 50. That's okay. You can put them in your database, right? And passively, drip on them through email, newsletter campaigns and things like that. But we still want to have that really solid list of 50 people that are like, they're solid, evangelical raving fans. Okay. Not 49, not 25, but 50. Okay. Want to make the initial call. Then we want to put them into our database and tag them as a top 50. And then we want to create now the 8 and 8. I'm going to go over this, but we're going to talk about this more next week in our farming class. I probably wouldn't send the 8 and 8 to my top 50, and I'll explain more when I get to those slides. And then we want to be sending out cards to them, thinking of you or thank you. And then we want to make our phone calls. And again, consistency is key here, you guys. And so continuing, and I know some people say, well, I've exhausted my top 50. I've exhausted my database. Keep going, right? Keep going and don't give up, right? And don't assume that they're tired of hearing from you because they're not, okay? And especially once you get into it and you start selling some houses to these people, you've just helped them with a really huge decision. And so they want to hear from you, right? They want to stay in contact with you. So the 8 and 8 program, how am I doing on time? I'm good. 8 and 8 program. So this was actually designed by a company called Hobbs and Herder. And this was done probably in the 80s, early 90s. Hobbs and Herder they developed this campaign. So there's 8 postcards for sellers and 8 postcards for buyers. And the messaging is very specific. And, you know, this is a marketing company that spent lots of money developing this plan. And they created a fictitious realtor, and they sent these postcards out every week for 8 weeks to this group of homeowners. And at the end of the 8 weeks, they surveyed the homeowners. And what they found is that the majority of the people said that they would hire this fictitious realtor, all from the messaging that was very specific in this campaign. And so I have the example postcard 1. These are in Design Center if you want to do them. Orlando has also set them as well. So if it's something you want to do, you know, down the road. I also think for budget reasons, maybe you create a social media campaign that we target an audience and we use this for 8 weeks. And, you know, that's a cheaper way to do it. I think Roberta's done the 8-8 campaign, but here's the thing is that, and again, we're going to talk more about this next week, but I don't want you to go, oh yeah, I love this idea. And then you get into week 3, 4 and you run out of money, right? And so because it's not going to do you any good if you don't actually execute the entire plan. And we also don't want to deviate. I had an agent take this class and she went to her title company to have him help her design it. And he started saying, well, I don't really like this verbiage. This seems too aggressive. Don't change it. Right? Hobbs and Herder knows what they're doing. And again, they surveyed a group of people with a fake realtor that all said that they would, you know, hire this person. So that being said, so here's an example, what's the, you know, different sides of the postcard. And again, they are in Design Center, and Orlando has created those as well. So we'll talk more next week about this, but I do love the concept of 8 and 8. And again, I think there's a lot of opportunity to do it not only in a farm, but you could take the buyer one and go into an apartment complex and send those out to people that are renting. You know, at this point, you know, there's some people are paying more in rent than it would cost them to own a home, right? And so figuring out what those neighborhoods or what those complexes are, right? And even looking at people who have rented a home, you know, go into the MLS and pick, you know, go into Arrowhead Ranch and pull up all the rentals, and anybody who's been in there 7 months, right, might be someone that you start campaigning to because maybe their lease is up in 12 months and now we can make them a homeowner. So my sister-in-law, you know, I've shared that she's under contract, and we moved in March, and we were talking about stuff, and she said, oh my gosh, we could never afford to own, and we're only paying $900 a month in rent. We're never going to do this. And here we are just a few months later under contract, right? And so you know, they're as soon as some things came on the market that were in their price point, it got them excited. And so, you know, their vibe and their thought completely changed. And so I love that, right? Because now they're excited to stop paying rent and to actually be homeowners and to have equity and just even the pride of place, right? They're so excited to be homeowners and what that means to them and just their quality of life. And even their daughter's excited, you know, to have her space and, you know, to have that feeling, right, of owning your own piece of the American pie. So that being said, let's jump off of the PowerPoint here and just have a little chat. So what are some thoughts you guys had? Any comments, any ahas that came up for you? What are you guys thinking as far as the materials?
Thinking we need to get busy.
All right. I love it. Think you need to get busy.
I have a question. When you say entering the contacts into your database, is that through the Mac Center or
Booge? Going in, just use Booge for right now. And then, like I said, hopefully when we integrate into the new software, that will migrate nicely for us. Nate's going to the broker owner conference actually on the 13th. And so he anticipates having a lot more information when he gets back from that on what that looks like, but it's not going to roll out, I don't think, in Phoenix until spring next year. So don't wait to use your Booge and get your CRM set up. So just use that tool that we have right now. Okay, great question. Sandra, you came off mute. Did you have a thought?
I just didn't catch what the name of it was. So what's the name of the new one?
KV Core.
KVCOR?
Yep. Yeah, and there'll be, so when you get some emails from Remax headquarters, there's been some information dropped in there, but it's kind of still, I mean, I haven't put any headspace into it yet, just because I know that it's not coming till spring. So I'm just kind of when the time comes, and you know, we have our guy Alex, right, who's our Booge. He's now going to be our KV Core guy, so he's going to be one, you know, helping us learn all of that and helping us train on that. So but yeah, I would just keep using Booge for now. Okay. Any other thoughts?
No, only that I totally back up what you say about using, using holidays and using some kind of a card. I've kind of combined it with farming. I live in a community. I'm very lucky. Like there's 45 houses. That's my farm. And I've kind of used, a combination of knocking on doors, drop-offs. I make up for, like, obviously St. Patrick's Day is a big thing for me because I'm Irish, so I made a really cool, well, I got help with it. I'm not going to say I did it, but this guy did this amazing thing. Didn't even have to pay for it. And it was really cute. And then I made up a little bag of green candy, and then I carried around the latest report from Cronkite or whatever.
Yeah,
And
I love
at
that.
the end, now these people know me because I've done this every holiday for the last 2.5 years, but by the end of that, I had 3 people who absolutely promised me, Sandra, some of the people here are the little older generation, and they're eventually going to, move on. And they said, there's nobody that we will think about, only you to be our realtor. And
so you should turn that into a block party. Because March is still nice, right? And if you did it late afternoon, and you could have a block party and have, like, turn it into something. Rose has been doing community stuff even in the dead of summer, she's crazy, but she's been doing it in her community, and it's been wildly successful. We have another gal, Cindy, that does it in Westbrook, and she just started it out because Westbrook's a retirement community. She just started it out as come meet your neighbors, right? As more of a social thing. And so, but it's given her foothold in that community. So you guys, quite literally every month there's something happening, except for August. August is a weird month. But there's some holiday that's happening every single month. I mean, if you look at throughout the year, and for August, you could do a, back to school type thing, or, dog days of summer, or whatever, right? There's other things we can do that are successful that you can do in August. So not again, that's a promote my book or Nate and I's book, but in chapter 8, we go through each of the months and share a lot of really great ideas that you guys can piggyback off of. Another great resource is the national holiday calendar, the whimsical holidays, like, National Taco Day, National Donut Day. There's probably a national, Heather Day. So that's all of these national holidays out there that you can parlay off of as well, that are just kind of fun. So last summer, I did National Ice Cream Month. It cost me a little more than I had budgeted for, but I bought a scooper at the dollar store and then a little thing of sprinkles. And I sent that out in July to my database, and I got really good response from people. Like I said, it cost me a little bit more than I was planning, but it still was really well received. And so, thinking about those things, I have clients that have done, a couple of them did the ice cream day. So it's funny, July is National Month, but then there's a National Ice Cream Day, and so they actually did ice cream socials for their top 50s, and it was pretty well received on both of those. So I think one person had 40 people and the other one had 30 show up. So, and it's cheap, right? I mean, ice cream is fairly inexpensive, so plus you're supporting local business. So yeah, so there's literally something every single month that you guys can do to create those touches. And Orlando's a resource for you, right? He can create assets for you and help design those things. So Roberta, you came off mute.
I did one year, and I don't remember if it was National Ice Cream Day or National Ice Cream Month. It may have been month. I had, farming attempt just on Facebook. What I did was post, hey, what's your favorite ice cream? It's national, whatever, da, 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 da. And it was very unassuming, and people had no idea. They just started responding. So I took notes and I paid attention, and there were about 30 people who responded. And I went to Fry's and bought the little pint of Ben & Jerry's, whatever their flavor was, and I went and delivered it.
I love that.
And every single one of the people was like, what is this? And I said, well, you said this was your favorite ice cream, so I thought you'd enjoy it.
Talk about going deep with that. That's beautiful. I love that, Roberta.
It was fun too.
Yeah,
it was really fun, and it made people happy.
Yeah, you do something else during Super Bowl, which is kind of fun. So will you share what you do on that?
Yeah, on the Super Bowl, almost always, because sometimes I think people get tired of it. So I take a break. But mostly on Super Bowl, right before the game starts, I always send out a text to everyone I know, especially everybody I've done business with over the last year, that basically says, hope you're having a super day for the Super Bowl or something of that nature. Just curious, are you watching the game, watching the Puppy Bowl, or just eating snacks. And I get a wild response from that. People engage, at least 50% of the people engage, minimum. And so I can engage back with them, you know, well, who do you think's going to win? Who's your favorite team, or who's your favorite puppy, or what's your favorite snack? And I engage. I don't just send it out and go, okay, I'm done. I actually engage.
Yeah. I love that idea. And it's something, you know, millions of people watch the Super Bowl, right? And so, or they watch the Puppy Bowl, which is also stinking cute. So,
and even if people say, I'm not, you know, I hate the Super Bowl, I'm not watching any of it. I'm, you know, I ask, well, what are you doing today? Well, I'm hiking, I'm with my grandkids, I'm with blah, 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 and I still engage.
And a lot of people look at it for the advertisement. So you can, that's another way, if they don't like they can talk about the advertisements.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I've had people create like a Super Bowl bracket too, and just have some fun with their top 50s and, you know, having that interaction. You could do that with March Madness too. So just because we don't necessarily have March Madness here, but if you've ever been to an area that does March, whoo, buddy, they are intense with that stuff in those states that do March Madness. So because they don't have any other professional sports, so it's all about March Madness. So you guys, and literally there's something you can do every single month that reaches out to your people. And if there's a cause you're passionate about, you know, we are big about the Children's Hospital, but if that's not your jam, you know, find what is, right? And be passionate about that. Melanie Bounds had shared with us that she's now working to raise money to build wells in countries where they don't have good clean water, and so she's working towards that. James and Amy Lombardi, they participate in a group called I'm going to draw a blank right now, but anyway, they build homes in third world countries, and so it takes $5,000 to build a home, and they go to, you know, South America and they participate in that. So if you have something that you're passionate about, get behind that and share it with your people, because they will rally around that as well. So and of course we have the concert and the auction coming up in just 10 days. So if you haven't got your tickets for that yet and you want to go, make sure you do. So it's going to be a lot of fun and a great night, and hopefully we raise a lot of money for the Children's Hospital. So all right, with that being said, we're done. And
hold
yes,
that thought just real quick. I instituted, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, what I called the reverse pop buy for Children's Miracle Network. And I created all of these jars. They're relatively large jars. And we used to just do, you know, getting a bunch of pennies, million pennies or whatever. And so I would go pester all of my vendors, my clients, my friends, my family, and then I would videotape it, them giving me all the quarters and nickels and dimes and pennies that were in their little jar that's holding their door open, or their laundry room, or wherever it's at, because everybody has one, that jar. And I would make a big to-do about them pouring their jar into my jar, and thank you for this. And I got to where I would actually stage some of the events happening. I would always post them, and then people would call me and say, hey, I want to give you some money too. And so it created a reverse pop buy that allowed me to go see that person and love on them and appreciate them. But they're the ones who are giving me the pop buy, instead of me having to think of some ice cream or something to give them. Yep. So it's just a great opportunity in the month of August. And we'll be doing that again this year.
Good. Yeah. And in years past, we've done activities every week. And we used to call it, when we first started it, we called it the Million Penny Challenge, right? And which was $10,000. Well, we've well surpassed that now. And we're really hopeful that this year we can raise 100 grand. That's the goal, is 100 grand between donations from agents and your closings and the event that we're having. And, you know, if people fundraising, such as what Roberta's doing. So yeah, even if you don't want to participate next week in the concert, there's still other ways that you can get involved. So, you know, to help fund that. And again, if it's not your thing, find something that is, right, and be passionate about that. So yeah, so, oh, and don't forget, you guys, Thursday is the office meeting it's going to be at We Serve. If you can't make it in person, they are streaming it, so you can still do it on Zoom. I would encourage you to go in person. We're going to be meeting our ambassador for this year's Month of Miracles. So it's a child that's been treated at PCH. So we'll get to hear his story and how PCH helped him and his family. And then directly after, they are doing the mastermind, which will not be streamed. So Nate's going to head that up and just kind of talk about what's going on. What do you guys need help with as far as, you know, the markets and what's happening. So it's a great, I will not be able to participate because I'm going to be working on stuff for the month of miracles, but it's a really great hour of just dialogue amongst your peers. So I would highly encourage you to get there. Plus, you know, you guys are, all of you are kind of new. So besides Roberta, so go meet people, right? Meet people, make connections. And, you know, 8:45 to 9 is networking and breakfast. And then the meeting will kick off at 9 o'clock. So that's on Thursday. So, and then next week we will continue talking about marketing and farming. So, and that's it. That's what I got for you today. If you guys need anything, please reach out. Jan, you got something to say?
Yes, just receipts for people. Like as I'm gathering things for the basket, I didn't know should I be giving people a receipt of some sort?
That's a great question. Let me follow up with you on that. I'll talk to Kim and see. Yeah, let me follow up with you on that because I don't know the answer.
And then I was going to try to bring my baskets on Thursday. Does that help anything?
Yeah, if you want to, are you going to bring them to the meeting or drop them off at the office?
I would bring them at the meeting.
That's fine. Yeah,
Okay.
Kim and I could take them to the office.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. You guys have a great day. If you need anything, please reach out. I'll see you guys on Thursday.
Thanks.
All right. Bye.